In today's world, we are often taught that speaking up is the key to success, expressing opinions, making our voices heard, and asserting our presence. Yet what if the real power lies in knowing when to stay quiet? The value of silence is frequently underestimated, yet it is a tool that has been wielded by powerful figures throughout history. Silence, in its most profound form, is not a sign of weakness, but of control, influence, and strategic thinking. Niccolo Machiavelli, the 16th century philosopher and political strategist, understood the profound power that silence can have in the realm of power and governance. In his seminal work, The Prince, Machiavelli emphasized that a ruler must know when to speak and, perhaps more importantly, when to remain silent. According to Machiavelli, silence can serve as a powerful weapon, allowing one to retain control over information, avoid unnecessary conflict, and shape perceptions without exposing one's true intentions. He suggests that a ruler who speaks too much risks revealing their weaknesses, desires, or hidden agendas. So, what does silence reveal about power, strategy, and influence? Silence can convey authority. It can demand respect, provoke curiosity, and allow the silencer to observe and listen rather than react impulsively. In a world where the loudest voices often dominate, silence can create an aura of mystery, control, and even fear. By mastering the art of silence, you can avoid unnecessary conflict, maintain an air of composure, and make your words and actions more impactful when you do choose to speak. The paradox is clear. In a society that values words, the ability to remain silent becomes a rare and powerful skill. Through silence, one not only controls the narrative but also holds the power to strategically shape outcomes. Machiavelli's The Prince offers numerous insights into the nature of power, strategy, and leadership, but one of the most subtle yet impactful strategies he advises is the art of silence. Machiavelli understood that in the complex game of politics, words can be both powerful and dangerous. Too much speech, he argued, often reveals too much, and with too much revelation comes vulnerability. Silence, on the other hand, can serve as a powerful political tool, allowing the speaker to control their narrative and maintain an air of mystery and authority. In political strategy, silence can be used in various ways. First, it helps to maintain power by preventing opponents from knowing one's true intentions. Leaders who speak less are often perceived as more strategic, more in control, and less likely to be manipulated. Silence allows them to hold their cards close to their chest, creating uncertainty in the minds of rivals. When a ruler or political figure remains quiet about their goals, plans, or desires, they remain elusive, less predictable, and therefore more formidable. Additionally, silence prevents the unnecessary exposure of one's weaknesses. Words, especially in moments of emotional vulnerability, can be used against you. By maintaining silence, one can avoid giving others ammunition to use in political or social warfare. This is particularly true in environments where one's every move is scrutinized and analyzed. A leader who speaks too freely may inadvertently provide their enemies with the insights they need to undermine them, while a leader who uses silence as a shield protects their strategic position. Another key advantage of silence in politics is its ability to manipulate without appearing overly aggressive. Politicians, statesmen, and leaders often use silence to create a sense of ambiguity. By withholding information, they can influence perceptions and guide public opinion in subtle ways. Silence can make others overanalyze, speculate, and draw conclusions based on incomplete information, all of which serve to give the silent individual more power. Machiavelli himself recognized that silence could often accomplish what words could not. For example, in The Prince, he discusses the importance of the leader maintaining an air of mystery. He cautions rulers to be careful with their speeches and to never reveal their full intentions. By remaining silent on certain matters, a ruler can appear more enigmatic, and in doing so they can establish an aura of authority and command respect. Looking at historical examples, many political leaders have employed silence strategically to shape outcomes. Take, for instance, the case of Winston Churchill during World War II. Churchill's speeches were powerful, yes, but there were moments during the war where his silence in the face of mounting pressure worked as a powerful tool. By not revealing too much of the Allied strategy or his personal fears, Churchill maintained a sense of resolve and control. His silence during key moments allowed him to maintain political dominance in a time of crisis. Another example can be found in the history of the Roman Empire. The Emperor Augustus, known for his political acumen, was a master of silence and subtlety. Augustus rarely spoke about his intentions in public, which kept potential rivals off balance. His control over the Senate and the perception of his leadership was partly built on the fact that he remained inscrutable. He understood that silence allowed him to hold greater sway over his empire than if he had been overly transparent with his plans. In more modern times, the concept of silence as a strategic tool can be seen in the political maneuvering of figures. Like Henry Kissinger, the former US Secretary of State, Kissinger was known for his strategic use of silence in negotiations and discussions with world leaders. By withholding his thoughts or refusing to speak at key moments, he often caused his counterparts to fill the silence, making them inadvertently reveal more than they intended. This allowed Kissinger to manipulate situations without appearing overly dominant or aggressive. In all these cases, silence became a tool not of passive avoidance, but of active control, a way to assert influence, shape perceptions, and maintain an upper hand without engaging in unnecessary verbal sparring. Machiavelli's teachings on silence as a political weapon highlight its power not only to protect one's position, but to strategically shape the future. Silence in the realm of politics becomes an active weapon, capable of steering outcomes, frustrating rivals, and preserving power. Leaders who understand the strategic value of silence wield it with precision, knowing when to speak, when to remain quiet, and when silence itself will achieve more than 1,000 words ever could. Silence has a profound psychological impact. In personal interactions, it's often said that silence speaks louder than words, and for good reason. In a world that constantly emphasizes verbal communication, silence can create a powerful dynamic, one that can intrigue, control emotions, and provoke deeper thought. While speaking allows for the expression of ideas, silence provides space for those ideas to linger, allowing them to resonate on a deeper, often subconscious level. One of the primary psychological effects of silence is its ability to create intrigue. When someone remains silent, it often sparks curiosity in the other person. Silence is an enigma, an absence that compels people to fill the void with questions, assumptions, and interpretations. This is especially true in conversations where silence follows a provocative or emotional statement. In those moments, the listener is left to process the message and its underlying implications. The silence amplifies the weight of the moment, drawing the listener's attention inward to reflect, analyze, and often reevaluate their thoughts. In this way, silence acts as a catalyst for deeper reflection. When someone remains silent, they invite others to think more critically about what has been said or not said. The power of silence lies in its ability to pause the flow of conversation, creating an emotional or intellectual space where both parties have time to reconsider their positions or reflect on their feelings. Silence, in this sense, is more than just a gap between words. It's an active part of the communication process, allowing for deeper insights to emerge. Silence also has the power to control emotions in a way that verbal communication cannot. Words can be misinterpreted, twisted, or diluted, but silence has an undeniable raw emotional potency. When silence is strategically used, it can elicit a range of emotions, from discomfort and anxiety to respect and reverence. For example, when someone speaks without pause, there is a tendency to be bombarded with information, making it difficult to digest or respond emotionally. However, a deliberate silence can give the listener the space to emotionally process the situation and respond with more thoughtfulness, creating a deeper emotional connection or understanding. Moreover, silence can be perceived as a sign of power and self-control. In social interactions, especially those with high stakes or tension, individuals who maintain silence are often seen as strong, composed, and confident. They are not reacting impulsively or giving in to the emotional pressures of the moment. Instead, they are demonstrating mastery over their emotions and actions. The ability to remain silent while others talk can suggest that one is not intimidated by the conversation or that they are in control of the situation. Silence, therefore, becomes an external display of inner strength. Consider, for example, a business meeting where two individuals are debating an important issue. One person dominates the conversation with assertive, passionate arguments, while the other remains quiet, listening carefully. The person who speaks the most may appear more engaged, but the one who remains silent could be perceived as calm, thoughtful, and in control, perhaps even more powerful. By not reacting immediately, they allow the situation to unfold, giving them more time to assess the dynamics and respond strategically. In this sense, silence becomes a method of exerting control over the flow of interaction. The contrast between silence and verbal communication further underscores the psychological impact of saying less. In conversations, words often come with expectations, emotions, and assumptions. When we speak, we reveal parts of ourselves, our beliefs, our desires, our thoughts. But silence doesn't offer that clarity. It withholds meaning, making others fill in the gaps with their own interpretations. This mystery can make silence feel more profound or authoritative than verbal communication, which is often predictable and transparent. Moreover, silence allows a person to avoid over-explaining, which can sometimes detract from the impact of a message. In a world where we are encouraged to speak our minds freely, silence stands in stark contrast. It suggests that sometimes less truly is more. Saying nothing can be far more powerful than saying too much. Silence forces those involved in a conversation to lean in, to listen more carefully, to make the effort to understand what's being left unsaid. In this way, silence can make the message more impactful, as it invites reflection and engagement. In relationships, whether personal or professional, silence is a powerful tool of communication. It allows for a deeper connection and understanding. When used strategically, silence conveys confidence, encourages introspection, and holds space for others to reflect on their own thoughts and emotions. In a way, silence is a form of communication that transcends words, allowing for more nuance, depth, and emotional resonance. It's an art form that few truly master, but for those who do, it becomes a profound and influential tool in their interactions with others. Machiavelli's lesson on silence, as outlined in his seminal work, The Prince, are not just applicable to Renaissance politics, but have remarkable relevance in modern life, particularly in social dynamics, leadership, and self-presentation. His teachings on silence were strategic, emphasizing that the right kind of silence at the right time could be more powerful than any speech or proclamation. In today's fast-paced, hyper-communicative world, Machiavelli's insights into silence are crucial for anyone looking to influence, lead, or even navigate personal relationships effectively. In a society where everyone seems to have an opinion or a platform to express it, silence has become an underrated and misunderstood tool. Silence, when used deliberately, can act as a profound force for influencing social dynamics. Today, silence is often mistaken for passivity or weakness, yet, in reality, it can be a powerful signal. Whether it's remaining quiet during an argument or withholding a response in a conversation, strategic silence can create a sense of control, authority, and mystery. Just as Machiavelli advised rulers to remain silent at times to maintain power, modern individuals can use silence to distance themselves from trivial conversations and create space for more meaningful interactions. In social gatherings, for instance, someone who speaks less often but with purpose can command more respect and attention than someone who dominates the conversation. The mere act of staying quiet while others speak gives the silent individual a sense of control over the flow of conversation and allows them to speak at the most opportune moments, maximizing their impact. Machiavelli would have recognized the power of silence in maintaining an aura of mystery, which is particularly relevant today when oversharing has become a norm. Those who master the art of silence can control how others perceive them, allowing them to reveal only what they choose to and at the right time. In this way, silence becomes a tool not just for withholding information, but for shaping perceptions and controlling the narrative in social settings. In the realm of leadership, silence plays an even more significant role. The ability to remain silent, especially in moments of tension, conflict, or crisis, can elevate a leader's standing and influence. Leaders who speak too often or too loudly can risk alienating their followers, losing their mystery, and providing ammunition to critics. In contrast, leaders who know when to withhold comments and adopt a measured strategic silence often appear more confident, decisive, and thoughtful. Silence, in this context, can serve as a means of maintaining emotional control and conveying wisdom. For instance, during a crucial business meeting or a diplomatic negotiation, when others are speaking over one another or becoming emotional, the leader who remains calm and silent often commands more respect. This silence conveys that the leader is taking time to process, to listen, and to make the best decision, rather than rushing to respond. The leader who speaks only when necessary makes their words far more impactful and authoritative, avoiding the trap of overcommunication, which can dilute their message. Machiavelli also understood that silence in leadership allows one to maintain a sense of power over information. By withholding opinions, leaders keep others guessing, which in turn keeps their followers on edge and more likely to remain compliant. This strategic silence becomes a mechanism for controlling the flow of information and preventing others from knowing one's true thoughts or intentions, thus maintaining an upper hand in power dynamics. The modern-day silent leader archetype embodies Machiavelli's principle of silence in a way that is both powerful and enigmatic. This individual leads not by being the loudest or the most outspoken, but by quietly asserting their authority through actions and strategic speech. While extroverted leaders may grab immediate attention, the silent leader commands respect in a subtler, more enduring way. Take, for example, the leadership style of tech visionaries like Steve Jobs or Elon Musk. Jobs was known for his quiet intensity, often staying silent in meetings until he had something truly important to say. His silence allowed him to remain enigmatic, which added to his mystique and authority. Similarly, Elon Musk, while often outspoken, knows when to retreat into silence to build anticipation or to maintain control over his personal and professional narrative. His ability to remain quiet about certain details and allow others to speculate has increased his allure and authority, enabling him to influence the market and public perception in ways others cannot. This silent leadership style is not about being passive or disengaged. Instead, it is about choosing moments carefully, when to speak and when to be silent. Silence, in this context, is an active choice, a tool for crafting a narrative and commanding respect without uttering unnecessary words. Leaders who master this art exude an air of mystery and confidence, creating an environment where their actions, rather than their words, speak volumes. The silent leader archetype also involves listening intently. Silence is not just about withholding information, it's about taking in the world around you. The ability to listen more than speak, to process and observe before acting, can lead to greater insights and better decision-making. The silent leader's power often comes from their ability to absorb information and read situations more clearly than those who are quick to respond or dominate the conversation. In The Prince, Machiavelli speaks extensively about the value of silence, recommending that leaders remain quiet during times of crisis or tension to avoid giving away their intentions. This advice is just as relevant in today's fast-paced, hyper-communicative world. Leaders who speak too frequently risk overexposure and vulnerability, while those who embrace silence project strength, mystery, and strategic foresight. Machiavelli would have understood that the power of silence lies in its ability to maintain control, protect one's image, and increase influence. In a world dominated by constant communication, the ability to stay silent, strategically and purposefully, becomes a rare and invaluable skill. Whether in politics, business, or personal life, those who learn to master silence can wield it as a tool of profound influence and power, much as Machiavelli advised centuries ago. The lessons of the Prince on Silence remain as relevant as ever. In modern life, offering a strategic approach to leadership and influence in a world that is all too often drowned in noise, Machiavelli's timeless advice on silence reveals that the ability to remain quiet, to withhold words when necessary, can be an incredibly powerful tool. His teachings emphasize the strategic value of silence in leadership, personal growth, and influence. Silence, when used intentionally, is not a passive retreat, but a dynamic force that allows for better control over situations and relationships. By speaking less and observing more, we gain the space to understand others, refine our thoughts, and choose our words with greater precision. As we reflect on Machiavelli's insights, it becomes evident that silence is not merely the absence of sound. It is an active choice, a tool for building power, projecting authority, and guiding outcomes. Whether in the boardroom, in social interactions, or in personal reflection, silence offers us the opportunity to regain control over our narrative, maintain emotional distance, and avoid unnecessary entanglements. Now consider your own communication habits. Are there moments when silence might serve you better than speaking? Do you often find yourself compelled to fill every gap in conversation, or are you able to embrace silence as a strategic move? As we navigate the noise and demands of the modern world, it's worth pondering whether we, too, can adopt silence as a tool for greater clarity, leadership, and personal mastery. In a world constantly pushing for more noise, more talking, and more expression, the ability to harness the power of silence becomes an invaluable skill. By choosing silence intentionally, we can sharpen our strategic thinking, build our influence, and carve out moments of clarity amidst the chaos. Embrace silence, not as a retreat, but as a powerful force to navigate life's complexities with wisdom, precision, and purpose.